If one thing in menswear has stood the test of time in one shape or form, it's the necktie. However, I'm afraid we are at the cusp of seeing this accessory fall into obscurity or eradication like the hat in the 1960s. Unless you're at a wedding or a bankruptcy hearing, there are not that many opportunities for its use. Even in the drab business world, people are skipping the tie. Now for the people who are more enriched in the menswear sphere, you know it's not going anywhere. You can go on any social media platform and see people continuing to wear ties. Malls and department stores see it otherwise. If there is no significant demand for ties, they can stop producing and selling them. Already companies are fighting a net loss in profits at the get-go due to the casualization of the world. They have tried to fix this by using inferior silk or dreaded polyester to minimize cost and raise prices. Add on top of it that most men today do not even know how to tie one, let alone style one, and you have a recipe for disaster for the tie. With how the world is going, it's increasingly accepted that the tie is an optional choice for your wardrobe, which I think is entirely wrong for most circumstances. Ties are the most expressive and fun part, in my opinion, of menswear, and throwing away this quintessential cornerstone of your outfit makes me sad. I will disclose this right now, that there are some exceptions to which you can ditch the tie, but these are not the norm. However, if you're still not convinced of wearing a tie, there are stylish alternatives such as bow ties or even a well-chosen cravat. I will discuss these in more detail as we go on. It's all coming from a good place in my heart, and we're going to try to have some fun while discussing this. It's fine to disagree with what I said, since you can do what you want with your free will. If you want to see my points, go to the time on screen. When I stated at the beginning that the tie in some shape or form has been around, I was not kidding. Ancient civilizations saw neckwear as practical protection or for symbolic use. One example I want to point out is the Romans. They wore neck scarves called focals for warmth and to prevent chafing from the armor. This trend of protection and symbolism stayed the same throughout the ages until the next step in the evolution of the tie with the ruff in the 16th century. The ruff was a symbol of wealth. How the ruff was popularized was by a bunch of rich people with too much time and money on their hands. So next time you see a rich person with something garish in public, just remember that the rich have been doing this since time immemorial. The ruff is defined in fashion, the definitive history of costume and style, simply as a detachable pleated collar in linen and or lace starched in shape and sometimes supported underneath, which is the most clownish thing I've ever seen. Look at my grandmother's painting of clowns for proof of my statement. Goofy and clownish. After people finally got back to their senses, they invented the cravat. This French man named King Louis XIII had some Croatian mercenaries who had these dandy neckerchiefs around their neck during the 17th century. Then the next French guy, King Louis XIV, popularized it for the French nobility. Like the ruff before it, it was predominantly white and made of linen. Silk comes along later. Of course, there were outliers with many different colors and fabrics, but unless you're like a Dutch East Indies statesman, all you have is white to wear for now. We will see it evolve through the centuries, as it was the preferred neckwear for a while. The first significant evolution with the cravat was with the ascot tie in 1893. Now, there is some confusion I need to address. While the term cravat broadly refers to any decorative cloth tied around the neck, encompassing various forms of neckwear throughout history, the ascot tie represents a distinctive evolution. The ascot is characterized explicitly by a neckband connecting two broad, pointed wings of fabric of the same size, worn in a particularly formal style. In fact, I'm going to drop a quick fun fact. It was up until the 1940s that some companies still called and advertised ties as cravats. Moving on to the next stage for the tie was in 1924 with Jesse Lansdorf, who is credited as creating the modern necktie. He stitched the tie together from 3 bias cut pieces of fabric. This consisted of a wider front blade, a narrower back, and a separate neckband that connects them. Not to be confused with 3-fold, which refers to the number of times the tie's fabric is folded onto itself during manufacturing to create the finished shape and thickness. At this point, the modern tie comes into existence. You may ask yourself, why should I care that the necktie is dying? It serves no purpose and it's decorative. A good point to be sure. I argue it makes your outfit look incomplete without it, especially if you're wearing a suit. Just like how a suit has a pocket for a pocket square, a dress shirt has a collar for a tie. Seeing the collar left open, bunched up, wrinkled destroys the universal rule of clean flowing lines for your silhouette, which I consider a fundamental principle in men's style. Here's where the tie comes in. It can frame your face with many knots to accommodate your collar spread with the bonus of hiding those buttons on your shirt front. Another reason ties are great is the sheer variety of them. The sartorial soup, as I will call it, is the combination of variables that make two seemingly identical ties differ upon closer inspection. Check this out. I'm going to go down all the important variables of a tie. Starting off, you have the fabric. What is the tie made out of? Ties can be made out of so many materials. Then, specific techniques can only be applied to certain fabrics. An example is the most common fabric for ties, silk. You can get silk printed with a pattern or woven to give it a distinctive texture. The backbone of the tie that gives it structure is the interlining. This right here is why people hate ties. Most people get their ties from a department store or something similar. Because many cheap ties use artificial fibers, such as polyester, as a reinforced interlining to hide the shortcomings of a low-quality silk, it's as thick as a bowl of mashed potatoes and bulky to tie a knot. Then you see the dreaded tie knot gap. Ideally, you want the interlining of your tie to be a lighter or similar in weight to the fabric used for your tie. Judge this based on your personal preferences, since this is where it can get dicey. I can't recommend a blanket statement to everyone that you must get a wool interlining for their silk tie, as some people don't want any interlining at all in their ties. Oh yes, that's a thing. My favorite, knit ties in particular, do not have any. You know how skinny ties have been popular for almost 2 decades? That's another variable. The dimensions of the tie, as well as the length and width, are as follows. These are significant variables influenced both by personal style and evolving fashion trends. Most ties today are within the 3 to 3.5 inch range at their widest. Length is different because everyone is different. Short men need short ties and taller men need longer ties. Most ties today are cut long since the rise of the pants is low. The rule is for the tie to just touch your waistband. In the past, ties were shorter since the rise of the pants was higher. The point of a tie is to embrace and inject some needed color and patterns into your outfit. Show that you are not the same as the man beside you. You wear your rep stripe ties the right way. Think of a color. Then think of a pattern. A tie just like that is calling your name right now. I'm not being facetious when I say you can get a tie in any color. Now, more common ties will be blue, red, and black, but that's boring. Experiment with more uncommon colors such as greens, browns, and yellows for your ties. Side note, to that old saying that goes, blue and green shouldn't be seen, have you gone outside? It's always blue skies and green grass where I live. Back on topic, color isn't the only thing on a tie, so are patterns. With ties, there are many patterns. You have classics like stripes or polka dots and more contemporary options such as solids. You can also create a color palette in your outfit by harmonizing with your pocket square. I swear, every time I find a new tie, it's almost one I've never seen before. The gift that keeps on giving. Time to talk about some exceptions and alternatives to tie wearing. The first exception, where you can skip it, is when you're in a hot climate. You do not need me to tell you to skip it. What I do is wear a button-down shirt if I feel like skipping the tie, as living in Satan's armpit is not fun during the summer. However, I think a suit should always have a tie. You can put it on once you get into an air-conditioned room. Sport coats are in sartorial limbo, as I will call it, where you can dress up or down depending on the day. The second exception is getting off work to somewhere like the bar. It's a casual environment, you've been wearing it all day, so take it off and relax. After that, I don't feel like there are any valid exceptions. Now here are some alternatives to neckties that I recommend. These are the most realistic recommendations based on a classic menswear perspective and what I would wear. My 2 options are bow ties and ascots. I would wear a bow tie because they're significantly smaller and stand out more than a necktie. Ascots, on the other hand, are tied but directly against your skin under a unbuttoned shirt collar. I am referring to a daytime ascot, not a more formal one. They offer the best of both worlds, a comfortable, relaxed feeling without the tightness of a traditional tie. However, their informal nature makes them unsuitable for professional dress, and the formal variant is designed for a specific occasion. At the end of the day, whether ties are going to go extinct is hard to say entirely. I sense it to be the case, thus I made the video, to start a dialogue about neckties in general. The tie could also be going through another transition. Neckwear has always had a place in history as practical protection or for symbolic wealth. With many people going tieless, it could be for more convenient comfort or they can't tie one, which I get. However, there are many reasons to wear one, as I have shared today. The little details, such as having a tie, can make a difference in elevating yourself to becoming the best, stylish version of yourself.